This is a 3D scanner. If a fly would fly through it, we can make a perfect 3D picture of it. But we didn't take flies. We took this guy who's sneezing all the time. He's got influenza. We took him to a Russian laboratory, and we had him sneeze through the machine. We found fabulous things, as you can see here. We worked a little bit on them. We took parts out and we hollowed out shapes, and we sent these digital things to an SLS machine, which is a machine like the following. I think most of you would probably know it. It's a technique where you can make a 3D print. Layer on layer, a laser will glue together particles of dust. And this is how we made our Airborne Snotty Vases. We named them after the most important diseases of the nasal cavities, like polynosis, influenza, sinusitis, and more of such. It's funny because we do this kind of experimentations to always try find different ways to look at the surrounding we have. I mean, there's so much beauty already that I think often-wise it's kind of almost the wrong thing to think to do again and again new things. There's a lot to find already. And it's funny because the music which you hear under this little movie, we made it for a project in Oranienbaum with Droog in, I don't know, 10 years ago. And we taped all kinds of sounds from this funny little village, and we made this music only using the sounds of raindrops and swans and children in school and all this stuff. It's fun. I will go back a little bit just to get back to that, just very short. If the music can be a little bit more loud, you can hear. These are raindrops, for instance. This I don't know what it was. Children in school. These are all raindrops. Just worked on them, of course. This is, I hear parts of a chain. Someone in school. I'm waiting for the swans, they're funny. Let's not wait for the swans. Thank you for having me here. This is what I wake up in the middle of the night for. This is why I jump out of bed, and I'm excited and passionate for making these little scribbles. We live in a fabulous world. I don't know, a few years ago, some crazy things happened in the East. In Afghanistan, I started seeing all these things, and I'm thinking, like, how incredibly beautiful is it that we live in a society where grown-up people like myself are able to wake up Monday morning, pick up a pencil, and just make funny little drawings. And our culture loves that so much that they are willing to keep us alive also. I think it's fabulous, and it's not only an opportunity, it's a responsibility, which I feel happy to give it. I'm not alone. This is a few of the people who are with me. One of them is with me now. There's about 37 people today. And in the studio we make industrial design, so products like This we made for Vodafone Japan, but we do, for instance, work on the in-flight service for KLM, products, industrial products. We make interior products. In a way, it's a different thing. We consider them two different ideas in our studio. We do art direct companies. We're very interested in the communication of design, because at the end, that's the only way it can reach people. If this lamp will never reach you in your head and heart only because of the information it gives. We do interior design since a few years, and more we do architecture also. And we make stuff which, I don't know how you have to call it. It's the things which are out of the book, out of the ordinary, and they don't fit the boxes anymore, which we see in design. When I was preparing this speech, I was a bit, confused what to do. I think, we have a very professional audience here. I think most of you have seen one or two, or perhaps more things. And of course, I want to talk about my work, because, it doesn't make sense to talk about anything else. So I would love all of you to see a lot of my work, because that's fun. I mean, that's, just a lot of information. But also I'd like to, to speak about all this work within a certain scope. It must have been about 15 years ago that I started designing. 20 years ago I started designing. 15 years ago, at some point I was kind of much more interested in the non-typical design things. My girlfriend was very sick at that moment in time, and we really had to find a way to make her survive. And we were looking into all kinds of therapies, all kinds of different ways to look at the world, look at ourselves, and so typical design things like I don't know, technology and so, or new techniques. I mean, they just were not so important for me anymore. There were really different things which were important to me in life. And it became, where I'm very passionate about design, and I've always been, it became kind of not my most important focus at some point. Because I wasn't able to fit these new insights, these new ideas, all the things I've learned in this period, because we went to all kinds of courses and so, all these things, I couldn't find a way to make them connect to what I did, design. And so more and more I was doing other things. Till at some point I started to understand how these crazy ideas, these new insights, this other way of looking to the world, I could find ways to put it into design. And I wrote this little booklet, which is, again, it's like, must be 12 or 15 years old, in which I write 10 insights which are important to me. And it's fun, because all these things are not big ideas. All these things are not completely fabulous. All these things are not like breakthroughs for humanity. They're not at all. But they became important for me. And I mean, oftentimes I'm asked by young people, young designers, like, oh, what do I have to do? What do I have to do? And I always tell them, you have to trust yourself. You really have to believe that what you believe is right. You cannot doubt it. You really have to follow it. And that's fucking dangerous, because you'll be completely alone. Because at the end of the line, that is what it means. But you'll have to do that. You'll have to understand that what you dream up is true. You are completely behind it, and you will follow through. And if you're right, that's fun. But if you're not right, it doesn't even matter so much. Just follow through. And so one of the things which are in this booklet was an insight which I had, and I followed through. It was in these times that how can I say it? well, durability wasn't fashion yet. So there was a group of people in Holland, they called themselves Eternally Yours, and I was kind of not part of it, but part of it. Most of these people were kind of industrial designers, technology-based designers. And of course, they were talking about new techniques, new materials, you know, how to connect, how to fix stuff, you know, all the technical stuff, which designers like to talk about. And, you know, and of course about durability, which, you know, was very important to them. And at some point, there was this girl who did a fantastic project within this context of Eternally Yours. She made a velvet where if the velvet would wear off, under the wearing off, there would arise a pattern, a flowery pattern or something like this. And of course, they were all very excited because it was so beautiful and such a fabulous idea. And although I liked the idea, I started to understand that in fact we don't have a material problem, but we have a psychological problem. Because in fact there is nothing wrong if a fabric wears out. If it creates its own patina, if it creates its own beauty, what are we solving? And we're solving a problem which we are making at the moment we're discussing it. So I started to understand that there is something bad with the word old. And in fact, you know, if you know that, I mean, you start seeing all in our culture everywhere. There's this connotation that's good, new things are better and old things are not so good. You know, whether we talk about product, ideas, people, you know, it's kind of works that way. And the strange thing is, and the strange sorry, my English. The strange part is that designers, people like you and me included, even more than the rest of our audience, is very interested in the new, the hippest, the coolest, you know, very interested in the new. So more even than the rest of the culture, designers create things which will always be about the new, because they celebrate what they believe in, of course. And so if you think back 15 years and see how the design world was at that moment, you know, what it was making, you can see that. I mean, things were like very cold, fresh, glossy, I mean, new. They would, you know, they would be filled with metaphors of the new. And there would be hardly old metaphors to find in design at that moment. And I started to understand that if, you know, nothing grows old more fast than the new. So if you make something very new, it will become very old very soon. It's just that way. And I decided for myself, I will make things which are always based on old metaphors and the new metaphors. You know, they will always live between my father and my daughter. You know, they're for a world which, you know, celebrates as well the past as the future. We talked about the past, you know, before today. History is so important, not only because it has a lot to learn, but it's because we are part of that. You know, it is us. I mean, how can you live without a father and with a daughter? I mean, it's impossible. It is very crucial to the fact that we make something that, you know, we integrate a reference. And so this is something which, you know, is just only, in fact, a little idea. And, you know, it's fun and just nice to see if you look at the work which over the last 15 years I didn't make, how it's always there, how it's always kind of playing its role. And why I think also in design has, you know, a lot has changed also over time. This is actually the first product I made after writing the book. It's a little chair, not a chair. The technique by which it's made is very technical, very innovative. You know, we should make fun, beautiful movies about making this chair. like we just saw. That would be real good, because it's a cooked chair, you could say. But more important than all this technology about it, I think that this chair introduced a new way to look at a product. I mean, it's so much more than what we saw at that moment, not a chic, glossy image. It's kind of handmade, it's not perfect, it's for sure kind of imperfect, and it celebrates that. It's so much more decorative. It's essential, but very decorative at the same time. It's because it's very emotional, because you can sense the person making it. I think visually it's very different than what we know, and rational, it was such a different way to look at product design. So it was a very important point. Afterwards, I made this product, which is kind of the same technology, but we tried to make a kind of a more industrial idea behind it. Here we have a candle, which you can blow on and blow off. So on, off. Another lamp which we made for Floss. I mean, we all love our decorated ceilings, and we're all happy if we're in a beautiful old house and we can see these ornate ceilings, though you hardly get them in new buildings. And I thought, why not hang it over my table so I can take it to my next house if I move houses. And another lamp we did also for Floss, where in a way we kind of have the old classic chandelier, but we wrap it in a kind of almost spider web kind of thing. It's like it's so old that it's full with spider webs, and it creates a fantastic dramatic lamp. It's funny because this technique was developed by Floss in the 60s. Achille Cassioni, who is one of my absolute heroes, worked on it. And it's funny because when I look to the picture of how the process of design is, or so, it's kind of like he's there and I'm here, of course, because that's the way time goes. It's like I step over him a little bit. It's like, and look to the things which he at that point, because he thought of design in a certain way, could not see. But I, having hopefully a little bit more respect for the past, was able to see things in a different way. And it's fun. I think there is a lot of stuff lost. There is a saying, which we all know, I don't know how he translates in English perfectly, but you throw away the child with the bathing water. And it's kind of, I wrote a little story about that a long time ago. Because I think it's so funny, because we make new things all the time, and we think our new ideas are fabulous, but, we never know where the child is, and we could easily throw it out. We could easily throw it out. I'm sure a lot of fabulous innovation have cost us a lot of things. And so we have a kind of, we have some direction in the studio. It looks like it's a completely chaotic situation, but we have a philosophy which is called lost and found by innovation. And so if we make a new product, sometimes we feel like, wait. What are the steps which people have made, the big steps for a product? What did people do over time? And what perhaps if we, with our idea of the world, what if we would go step back in that situation, what would we have done differently? And for instance, if I'm talking about lamps, it's so clear that, if you think about lamps, since Edison, people are trying to develop lamps to get that more perfect. If you want 60 watt, boom, 60 watt, 60 watt. Exactly. That's what you want, that's what you get. In fact, that's why we all think that artificial light is probably a little bit more boring than natural light. We love a candle. We love to sit and the sun, shines through some leaves and falls on the table. We love it when we're outside and in the evening and the door swings open and it throws some beautiful light over our surroundings. So in fact, we have tried to so much control the quality of light that we kind of killed it almost. So it's interesting. I go back in time see what happened over time, and perhaps we could decide that, if you make lamps, at the moment you are developing, and you could create a lamp which has some life to it, which, automatically moves between 60 and 80 watts. On a random pattern, I don't know. Ways to perhaps find back what has been lost. This is a fun little installation we made in Milano. I love to work with mosaic. We really want to warm up design. We really want to find ways to get more detail in it. I mean, I get crazy of architects who come to their studio on Monday morning and they're like, guys, come together. This hotel we're working on, I have a fabulous idea. Couldn't sleep all week. You know what we're going to do? We're going to do all the walls. We're going to do them white. What? Do your work. Design. Be fabulous. Do something with fantasy. Fantasy is the one thing I miss when I'm looking to design. The one thing I'm not seeing. And it's so important. It's so what we can give to the world. In any case, here we make mosaic. In between the mosaic, for the first time in the history of the world, we made, glass is not good enough. We make crystal stones. So in between the glass stones, there's now crystal stones. Really, you can see them here. On the photo, it's difficult to see, but it's real fun. And the chandelier is in front of it. They're your perfect shower. Just see a beautiful bathroom, put on the light, switch the ceiling, you're under a shower of light and water. Bizet asked me at some point, this is the company who's doing the mosaic, whether I wanted to do a small booth for them, for a fair in London. And I was like, fun, let's do it, why not? And so we discussed what to do, how big, what they could make. And at some point, they're like, okay, and what do we do afterwards with this thing, which you make? And they're like, it's a booth, we throw it away. And I'm like, no, come on. Durability is important to me, so we cannot have this. So I decided to make a mobile booth, which became my perfect holiday destination, which now I regularly drive with my daughter to the city of Amsterdam over the fun little bridges, and for one time later, I made also the trailer, which is a three persons bath. One guy, two girls. Another example of the work I'm doing. Again, this is. Very much also going back to a kind of basic archetype, it's like boom, boom. The shade, like a classical idea, which is, I don't know how long it exists, but as long as there's lamps, there's shades. But to do the core center of it and to really concentrate on the lamp itself was, and now it's kind of, it's an object which now is very famous and so, but I designed this in, this must have been 89 or so, but let's say 90. At that point in time, you all know it because you still have them in the attic or so, people were making halogen lamps, little black lines with little shades on it like this. That were the lamps in these days. And so I thought and it was fun because there was, at some point there was a little crisis, nothing compared to the one we have today. But, it's like, we need to do something. People cannot change their house, but, perhaps they can buy one lamp and change the house immediately. So if you have a lamp like this, boom, there's a fire in your house suddenly. It's a fabulous, it works better than an open fire, I can tell you. In my quest to warm up design and to open up areas which are kind of not done in design, I was looking for ways, slowly but suddenly, to legitimize myself to decorate things. I remember that, you know, I've had 16 words at least to cover decoration in all kinds of ways. So no, it wasn't decoration, it was a kind of a structural identity, a kind of a, I found thousands of ways to not say that I was trying to decorate, but to do something very important, right? And it was so much also something which, you know, I never learned. I had no background there. Nobody was, you know, doing anything like it, and I didn't know how to do it. And I called this, because I was working on this table, and I called it Henna Table, because I thought henna was a great, you know, a reference for some really fabulous pattern, which was completely different every time over the whole product. And we were studying, making drawings, and everything looked like shit, really. And so closer and closer to Milano, at the end, you know, we just could only decide, like, oh, let's find something quickly. And we found the map of Amsterdam, which was a pretty random pattern, so it worked pretty well. Later, we made the one for New York, and, you know, perhaps one day for Cape Town. We make, but you know, it's fun. Maybe it's a nice design, but it's more fun for me because it shows the struggle. For me, it shows the struggle and the incapability we had at some point to do something, to find a way to touch the surface and be excited about it. Later, it became a little bit more, you know, like a logic. And this is the first project where I said, yes, we do it. We decorate plates. I was very excited about that. But I couldn't let go to make, amongst something like 30 plates, this one, which is a small version of the pamphlet of the important lecture of Adolf Loos, Ornament and Crime, where he says that decoration is the first route to being at least a criminal, and if you're not in jail, you're probably going to be there soon. I mean, so that the poster of that fabulous, very important, and so well thought over concept is on this plate as a decoration. Adolf Loos, unfortunately, lived too short to see this plate. He would have probably been very excited about it. This is my girlfriend. And I mean, well, it was funny. She's a choreographer. She's doing, at some point, she's doing a piece on Francis Bacon. And in the piece, like in his paintings, there's some carcasses hanging. And so she's in that performance. She wants to come with me to Milano for the fair. I have to go there for a week. And she would love to go with me. But it was a bit difficult because, you know, she has to study this hanging upside down. You know, I'm like, well, we'll find you a place. Come on, you know, let's go. I'm like, yeah, but where can I hang? I can't hang just anywhere. Like, you know. Like, yeah, well, fuck, if I put you in my room, I'm probably be busted by Italian police. So we had a problem. And so like something like, I think 8 days before the fair, I thought like, wow, why not? We make you furniture. We make a furniture piece out of you. And so the logic place was kind of there, so it must be the first reason why we had a chandelier. The only reason, like, why would she be there? And so we decided at some point that she would be able to dance there. And then at some point, pick up some bottles of the this out of the chandelier and pour champagne to the people under. And it became a really fabulous performance, which, you know, now she's still doing all over the world on fun parties. So it became. Yeah. She's got, I think, 5 people on the payroll for doing it. I don't know. It's her business. It's great fun. It brings us to the real coolest parties. Always nice. This is a necklace I made. Each bead has its own little story. We have a booklet with it. Every bead is unique and special. You know, there's a bead which is from the rattle from Queen something, and there's a crystal from the chandelier from Nicholas the Great, and there's a Viagra, and there's a meteorite, and there's a piece of lava, and, you know, stuff. Beautiful collection of the world. I like to think, we always try to find things which tell stories, which are more than visual. I believe that in this room there is a fabulous amount of interesting people. And you would say that all the people I know, they get their information in their own way. More or less, it's visual, it's rational, it's emotional. You could see some other areas, but these are kind of most importantly for getting the most important information to us. Smell is an important one, but let's leave it out now. It's very important that I want to work for all of you. I mean, I don't feel that I shouldn't work for you or you, so I want to work for all of you. So the least I can do is put myself in a position so that I give information, valuable information, to all of you. So the work I do is as well rational, is as well visually interesting, is as well emotionally catching or important. And so we always try to find, deliberately, to pump up the quality of projects in this way. This is a project we do with, I did with Aaron Olaf. It's a set of photo shoots for Moy, part of the art direction we're doing. And it's clear what we do. We make like old-fashioned still lives. We make a connection to the past in a very natural way. This is a dog. In Moy we've had a few ways to look at photos. One series we made with Aaron Olaf was to do kind of a naked product, simple, and a naked person, simple. And together they are kind of a double portrait. So this is a naked dog. Well, so we thought that could be done. The material we are making here, we are making out of crochet. We're making little rounds, and these rounds we make these cubicles, and then the cubicles we harden them. Again, it's cooking textile or something like that, and it creates beautiful objects. Since I've always felt that textile is such a interesting material, and it's so little, it's so complex that for a lot of designers, it's just difficult to dig into it, because it's very complex in its possibility to have different qualities mixed. Then the three-dimensionality in the fibers can be so mind-boggling. You can do so many incredible things with it that it's kind of too difficult for a drawing board or so. Anyway, we are developing this kind of techniques to make things which are like this. And we do it also because it's kind of interesting that over 100 years, I mean, the big thought behind design has been to make things more easy. It's a way to look at the world, but it's not per se the best way to look at the world. I mean, so at least it's also interesting to say, like, how can we make it as complex as possible? How can we make something which is just very complex to make? But this is more or less where that ends. It's like it's months of labor for a little table. I want to say something more. I'll come back to that later, I'm sure. This is another fun little project I did for Moy. It's called Splinter Vase. You hear me speak before about imperfection. I love the idea of imperfection because it gives life to things. At the same time, I think it's beautiful that we can make, in an industrial process, in a kind of repetition process, we can make things which come from industry in a certain way, and they are unique every time. So what here we do is we have a company which blows beautiful kind of star-shaped objects in glass, as you can see. Then they go into a box with a lot of foam and protective stuff and so on, and then they go to my studio, and someone opens it with nice white gloves, and he gives it to me. I wear gloves, and I put it on my lap, and so then I'm going to finish that vase by just smashing it with a hammer, so like boom, 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 boom. I smash all kinds of points from the piece, and so it becomes really, it really becomes crystal, because it's fun. If you listen to the material, it will often-wise tell you how it wants to look, how it can be most beautiful. Materials know more about themselves than we know, and it's fun that, I mean, every time you cut a piece of glass, just check out how beautiful it is. It will always be beautiful. You don't even have to think about it. And it's a way to find, to get for free instead of to design. Told you before about the quest we have to make products in an industrial way, but so that they are unique every time. So if you and you and you have an object, you go see them, you mingle them, you can find your own instead of, you don't know which is yours anymore. So what we did here is we wanted to create an object out of porcelain without molds, because the molds, obviously, they are the reason why things are the same all the time. And so here we take a natural sponge, we dip it in clay, we have it to dry, and after a while we burn it, and we create constant, new, different sponge vases, as we call them. And it's fun because, the one year the sponges are a little bit bigger because the harvest is so and so, and then the year after, it's like we're selling vegetables. It's a fun way to do business. Here we have them in the silver version. We tried to find things which connect the new and the old in all the things we do. Like this one, resembling a carved stone, resembling, a cut diamond. We try to find new ideas for wallpaper, very crazy patterns, crazy colors. And so this travel of me thinking about the durability of products, again, in the time when durability wasn't yet fashionable. At some point, a part of that idea came really in the light of what industrial design is. Industrial design, of course, is kind of a 100-year-old science, which starts kind of by thinking about the renewal of objects and to take out the history of things, to only go forward. And in some kind of way, I think it's never been so that it was, when we started this whole idea of industrial design, of course, machines weren't able to do so much. They were able to cut some piece of wood, straight lines, and it was the idea that everything would be simple. But so in a way, it was never the intention to make the best things for people. It was a way to create objects out of machines. And so in a way, we were listening more to machines than we were listening to our audience. And I do feel that it's kind of, silly, because in fact, of course, at the end, we work for an audience. And so I really wanted to decide that, we have to not only look back, but we have to look back before the time of the Industrial Revolution. We have to go before this. And so we start to do what we call the new antiques. Things which are modern by their by the fact that they are made today, but they really live in a world which creates and communicates the beauty of things which we know before. I mean, if we have to choose at the end between a beautiful marble table with golden legs and flowers, or, well, let's say the best Vitra table, one of the two comes in your office, I think there's a lot of people who still, prefer something really fabulous. And so really I want to get rid of the rules of 100 years of design and make things which really live based on a different dream, a different possibility. And so we make objects which are very intricate in their making, or sometimes very simple also. This is a 4-meter high bedside lamp. For all of you who have a little princess who can sleep next to it. And this is based on a collection of consumer electronics. This is a little thing you can put into your iPod, and it will send the signal directly to your wireless speakers. So all you need is this and your wireless speakers. So technically very advanced, and at the same time, a completely different type of communication and shape than what we're used. It doesn't say, yes, we're very technological, it's very special. No, it's very old little stone more than it is a new object. This is looks like a, what's it called? Stick, but it's an antenna which you put in your computer and sends also directly from your computer to your speakers. You need only iTunes and your speakers. These are speakers. And it makes me think. It makes me think, and it makes me a bit sad also. Because sometimes, I've been wrong, and I'll be wrong again, And if I say that, perhaps, designers have been listening to machines too much of the time, perhaps, I'm over-exaggerating. But that's, at the other hand, why are speakers, why are 95% of the speakers wired square? Is it because sound is square? Nah. Is it because it says something about music? No. Is it then because the speaker itself is, no, it's round. So why a speaker square? Why, if we make speakers for 50 years, why are they square? Is it really so because that it's easy to cut square pieces of wood and just glue them together? So why don't we do better? Why don't we give our daughter, and so the world, because that's what we do, the best we can give, the ultimate? I think it is my absolute passion to work for you and not for machines, because I don't care about machines. And they don't care about me. So, they're on their own. It's a collection of products I made for Puma. They asked me at some point to do a project, and we're sitting on the table and we're like, oh, what are we going to do? Fun, a nice project. And at some point, Tony, he said, oh, let's do an outdoor collection. I'm like, yeah, let's do an outdoor collection. I don't see myself making steel mugs and beige tents and just thinking to convince urban people to go camping in the wilderness and think they're animals again. I'm like, but during that, I was like, come on. I mean, I love to see the sky. I love the beach. I love a park. I love to go outside. So it's a bit strange. And I thought, that's cool. There is something here which, keeps me away from, well, I would love to be part of it. So I decided to make a collection which is called, what's it called again? I hate camping. Yeah, I hate camping. That was a good start for a collection of outdoor furniture and stuff. And so we made a collection of outdoor stuff for urban people. People were not spending 2 weeks in the Rocky Mountain by minus 13 degrees with, putting a steel mug on a little fire. No, it's made for people who go to the beach for a day, get too drunk, so they sleep over for a night, they order pizzas, they have champagne and ananas, fresh fruits, If it rains, they quickly run to a hotel and they stay over there. Why not? There's some urban people in this place, I think. And so we don't make a tent, we make a villa. This is the villa. It's fun because next to the fact that it's not even a tent. You could better describe it as a parasol or something like that. But it's a really great place to hang out with friends. The system how it works is really it's like a tripod. So it's like click 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 click, and the structure stands. And then instead of you throwing this big tent over it, which is always the difficult thing, especially when there's a little wind or so, we just go under it and we hang it, we hang it, we hang it, and in a few minutes the whole thing stands. It's fun. And we made also this trolley, which looks like it's a normal cool case, but it's not a normal cool case, it's a cool case. Which means that the material we make this thing with is really isolating double of what a normal case would do. So it keeps fresh your fabulous champagne, your fresh fruits, and everything. Again, fibers, textiles, I love them. This is a project I did together with Bert-Jan Pot, and I'm speaking about the chairs, just for you to know. It was fun, because the chair in itself is a fabulous piece. You know, I mean, the way we worked, the rope, again, we should make movies of this. I've learned something today, really good ideas. But more than that, it was, you know, because this chair, of course, it was impossible to produce it. And we wanted at the same time to make the first carbon chair, which was really, you know, for kind of a normal price available for the world. And it was funny because at some point I started to understand how we were working with these, making this thing. It was kind of a laboratory way of working. And I mean, all this carbon stuff is done for aeronautics. It's, you know, pilots, you know, the nose of a pilot jet fighter is made in this material. So it's kind of a very laboratory-like environment. And so that's the reason why it's very expensive. But the laboratory, in a way, is a very unindustrialized place. So people really make things. And so at some point, I saw the relationship between this kind of clean laboratory production and what in Indonesia is very normal in rattan weaving. So we took our laboratory up, we shipped it all the way to Indonesia, where people really, you know, are very crafted, very good in crafting, like rattan and stuff like this, and they now make these chairs. So it's interesting that a very high-tech laboratory kind of surrounding really is very similar to a very low-tech environment of people who are very crafty and knowledgeable in doing handwork. This is a project we did for B&B, Italia. Didn't work all the way down the line, but the idea was to do printing of textile, but to do it in such a way that we would make a program. Well, first we make, let's say, 100 half cushions, half ones. And then we put it in a program in such a way that every time 2 half cushions are printed to each other. So you can make 100 times 100, 10,000 unique cushions. And everybody has got a unique cushion. It's a way for us to find, you know, to give you all something unique so the neighbor can't have it, but it is industrial. Here we go back to our crochet type things. I love to work. This is a big chair made out of the material. Here it's on the. We presented it in Miami, and we presented it on a pool until some person who drank a little bit too much, you know, thought he could sit on it. Suddenly he was down in the pool. I love this. What I love about these things is that it is something. I mean, I love to make artificial, natural things because I think so much it is what designers do. They are in between what is natural and what is artificial, and it's very hard to understand which is what, because in fact, I think there is, or everything is artificial, because, you know, we decide to make it, or we decide not to destroy it, or there is only natural things, because, you know, I mean, birds make nests, cows eat grass, we make things. I mean, it's our nature. So in fact, it's interesting as a designer to find the relationship between this kind of natural and artificial. And so I decided a long time ago to make plants myself. So this is my plant. Here we have it's the same technique, the printing of textile. Obviously, what you normally do is you decorate a roll of textile, then you cut it up, you sew it together, and there's a sofa. But in fact, of course, it's a bit strange, because the decoration shouldn't fit on the roll, but it should be made for the sofa, right? So in fact, now what we did is we made first all the patterns, and then we print the pattern, the drawing in such a way on the pattern that everything is now completely seamless. The decoration is seamless over the whole product. Fun way to get the new possibilities with techniques, and creates beautiful little sofa. We made a collection of Delft ware, like modern, old related Delft ware, with the porcelain flesh in Delft. What I like to do here also is like to make vases which are, in a way so beautiful that they don't need the flowers anymore, because they are, in a way, the flowers. Like these vases in themselves, they have a kind of a flowery shape, but the right thing is a little vase, which of course has flowers already. You can put it upside down, and then you can put flowers in that thing alone. But also the block, which has 3 holes, which, the vases are on top of it, but the 3 holes are, places for flowers also. And here you see also, I don't know where the flowers should even fit, because they're like already there. But the top, the blue part, you can put upside down, put flowers in there. So use it in a different few ways. But if you put it, it has its flowers, like this one. Flowers are there, integrated. This is a project I call it the 1-minute sculptures. It's funny. At some point, I'm sitting with my daughter, and we're doing what fathers and daughters do. We clay, we make things out of clay. And it's fun because she's, like, what is she, 6 years old by then. She's like, she squeezed this piece of clay to death almost. And I'm like, it's like I'm just a wholesaler of clay, more or less. And it's funny because I start to see what I'm doing, the boom, boom, boom. I make, it's my nature, I make a repetition of objects. It's almost like I am a machine doing a certain thing. And I start to understand that's real fun. Because now I completely turn around the logic of production. Because I don't design it, I just produce it. And because I limit myself to a certain timeline, 1 minute, I can say that I'm the production facility. And I create unique things every time, although they are very similar. And so this is one, I normally make them just standing. It's 4 legs and a head and so. And we start also to do it with painting, so 1-minute paintings. In classical vases, I just paint in a very, very direct way. I paint these objects. So I've shown you a lot of product design now, which I would say is also the basis of my creativity. But in a way, it's kind of strange, because over time I've started to also make interiors. And in fact, in the beginning, I thought, of course, it's all the same. But at some point, I started to understand it's really something different. And I want to show you some of my interior works. Pretty much, you could say that the way I look to product design is kind of conceptual. It's kind of how I think a sculptor in marble would work. There's a block of marble. You look around it. At some point, you're like, yep, that's in it. You're going to see more, and you're going to find it. It's more and more clear what it is, and you'll find it in your way. And for interiors, in some kind of way, that doesn't work. I mean, an interior cannot have one fabulous idea. It needs a lot of ideas. And so I start to understand that if I do interior design, I really need to work in a different way. Far more, instead of like a sculptor in marble, I should work like a composer, making an orchestration of things. You need 1,000 ideas. First, there's the flutes. They open, the violins come in, then the trumpets, and boom, everything's gone, and they start again. I mean, there's 1,000 ideas you need. And so we are really developing these 2 ways to work also in our studio. This is a project we did in near Amsterdam, very small little village, with a hotel with only 7 rooms. And as you see, I mean, for us it was fabulous to finally express herself in a completely different way, to combine a lot of the things we did before, and to create a warmth and a depth for our own design, which is so different and so universal. Also, of course, it gave us the opportunity to design also specific products, like here, this wallpaper, for instance, is a hexagon wallpaper, which you can just flip over, and so make this kind of random wall. We invented steel parquet flooring, as you can see here. And we used our first soap bath. You know? So it's a very logic way for us to combine all the worlds, and it teaches me a lot about the designs I'm making. You know, you see them fail also at some point, which is not so nice. This is a project we are doing in Guadalajara. We were asked to do 2 towers next to each other. And so we thought, like, well, why not connect these two? Because then everybody has a garden, in a way. So we thought, like, if we make really big slabs, you know, which, you know, the cost of the concrete, that's not the big price of a building. We make big slabs, so the sun doesn't shine inside the buildings anymore because there's these large overhangs. There's a lot of concrete, so the temperature can be cooler during the day and can give warmth to the night. And so we made this building where everybody lives in a kind of ground floor environment. You step out of your house on the 16th floor, and you go through your garden, and you find your way down. Huh. Not so bad. We forgot the pool. This is a hotel we just opened in Miami. I'm just quickly going through some shots. It's just opened in December. We wanted to make a place which felt like, we all know the story of the Sleeping Beauty, which I thought for a hotel was kind of an interesting way to look at it. And I wanted this hotel to feel like the moment that the story just ends. And so the princess just got in, he kissed the princess, and people wake up, look at themselves like after 100 years in a new way. They look at 2 other people in a new way, and so they feel this kind of, you know, excitement of a world which starts again. And so we're building a place which is very theatrical and which has a lot of connotations to royalty and big castle. This is the spa, for instance. I mean, all kinds of things which really are. We try to catch a kind of Miami feel, but also in a very typical way. This is a building we are now building in Jakarta. Building for a friend of, he called me just up, like, you know, and he's really alone. In Jakarta, nobody knows what design is. He just found me on the internet, like, oh, Marcel, I love what you do. And so we're now building a house for him. And it's real fun. It's really fun. If you never did a house, it's fun to do a house. It's done so that the wind really can go through the building, so it's always like a nice and a cool environment there. The round thing is the master bedroom. The little pot to the right, again, artificial flowers, is his praying area. And the 3 little domes are the place for the children. It's fun, it's real fun. Because 2 years ago, the guy calls me up. He's like, oh, Marcel, really, you have to do my house. It's important to me, and so and so. I said, okay, we do it, why not? So I meet him later, and he says to me, so we need a brief. And so he started telling, I need the house to be ready by then, and I need a place for my wife, and she's doing this and so and so. And then there's going to be 3 children rooms, and they should be like this and the size like this. And I'm like, okay. So we talk about the brief. And at some point I'm like, we're going out for dinner or something. Should we take your wife, or it would be nice to meet her? She says, no, I don't have a wife. I think, but you have children. No, he didn't have children also. It's fabulous how people can master their lives in such a fabulous way. So now the guy, he's got a Marcel Wanders out, he's got a wife. I'm going to go to his honeymoon, what is it, in two weeks' time. Isn't that cool? I think this is the last project I want to share to you. It's just finished also in December. It's a big fashion store in Bahrain, Middle Est. This is the entrance area, so there's this huge wall with all these big pearls and doors open, and then you go into this corridor, which looks longer than it is because there's this effect built inside, and then you get into a store like this. The store is completely black and white, so that the very flashy, colorful things which people like to wear there really speak out from the store. It's a project where I love to work on. Everywhere we do projects, we always try to find local craftsmen who can do things which nobody can do. And we found a lot of people who can do magic things in the Middle East. And it's really, an idea to take them also to the next project, to keep working on them. So at some point in like 5 or 10 years' time, when we do a project, the whole world has to come up and work together, because that's the only way we can get these things done. And in this way, I think also, design has fabulous potential to be, to be something for the whole world. It's been said before today that, when I was a kid, let's say it this way, when I was a kid, I loved to make gifts for people. I loved to make really presents for people. And I loved to, oops, I'm sorry, got out of it. I'll finish it anyhow. I love to make gifts for people. And I studied also what a good gift is. A good gift, and that's what design is also, of course, a good gift says something about the person who you make it for, of course. Because, if it doesn't resonate to you, why would it be for you? So it tells something about who you are. Something you didn't even know you want, but suddenly you have it and you're happy with it. And at the same time, also, of course, a good gift says something about the person who gives it. Because why would you give it? If someone else could give it. So it's something personal also. I think, therefore, a good design has a very personal side, and it has a kind of meaning for a larger surrounding, for a lot of people. And so it's very important for me to find the balance between the two, to be as well global, to be as well local. And it's therefore also my pleasure to later, after the questions, to invite you to come over with me to the opening of an exhibition. You've heard until now fabulous people speaking. You will hear more people speaking, fabulously also tomorrow. And today we open an exhibition on the quality of the growing creativity of the designers and creatives from South Africa. And I would love to share seeing that together with you. So later I will pick up a big drum and together we'll move up the stairs and go to this exhibition. I hope you will like that as much as hopefully you liked my speech. Thank you.